I'm in the 200s now in terms of shows I've done, characters I've played. And I mean, you know, some of them are like Soldier A, or, you know, or Bob. But most of them are named roles of some kind or another. And I guess there's always, for me, they all mean something, and I don't often keep track of what's popular with the kids. I mean, obviously, I do cons, and so I've come to expect people always come through and they mention Black Butler, they mention Oron, which still amazes me because Oron is like almost 10 years old. And how often does anything survive that long in pop culture? Like we don't, I mean, the fact that people are like, oh man, I watched this when I was a little kid, you're part of my childhood. I'm like, shut up, I'm not that old. I mean, I am, but shut up. I'm not comfortable with my age yet. But yeah, so I think in a sense, every show I do, to me at the moment, is like the coolest thing I've ever done, even if it's something that I will never see somebody say, oh, I loved you in that show. I'm trying to think of ones that I'm like, oh, I wish that was bigger. I'm really proud of Romeo and Juliet, right? And that's, I won't say that it's unknown, but it's not as well known because I'm not a main character in it, I'm just William Shakespeare, but I also directed it, along with Taliesin Jaffe, who was the lead adaptive writer, and Patrick Seitz, who was also one of the adaptive writers in that show. And Patrick, oh my God, Patrick! That is the appropriate response every time Patrick Seitz is mentioned. Oh my God, Patrick! Get him to do that, it's really funny, because he's like, hey, Patrick, oh my God, Patrick! It's a terrible Patrick Seitz impersonation. He's not afraid of me at all. So yeah, I guess Romeo and Juliet is one of them. I don't know, do you have a few? I don't know, maybe we should hang out more. You said C Control? Yeah, C Control's got a little following too, see it a little bit. Pollock's got a thing. The what? Oh, the Pokemon movie, yes! The Pokemon movie where I played like the bad guy, Damon. With a name like Damon, why would you trust him? I mean, he's like a good bad guy. He's not trying to like be mean. He's just kind of a little too obsessed with doing what he's doing, and it makes him kind of a questionable. He's the antagonist, the noble antagonist. Yeah. So there's a bunch of that. Summer Wars. Anyone know Summer Wars? Yes. That's another one. Now it's not nearly as obscure. In fact, it's really well known. But that's one of my all-time favorite roles, and it was all of 2 hours of work for me. Booth. I came in and did all the Wabasca in 2 hours because he doesn't talk that much. He's in pivotal scenes, but he's only in like 4 moments, and those are amazing moments. But that's some of my favorite work, and the fact that it was only like 2 hours worth of work, and I'm like, oh, best thing I've ever done in my life. Empire of Corpses is my new favorite one. Does anyone know Empire of Corpses? Of course you do, because you're cool like that. The rest of you, please go see Project Nito's Empire of Corpses. It's an amazing movie. It's beautiful. It's very... Oh, I don't want to ruin anything for you. Just watch it. It's really awesome. Empire of Corpses. It's what you think it's about. But it takes place in like Victorian England, and it kind of takes a lot of that era science fiction and like pulp writing and makes the characters real. And I got to play one of my favorite characters, Burnaby, who was actually based on a real guy. And he's like this big, fun guy. But the reason I mentioned it is because Mike McFarlane, who wrote the adaptation and directed it, asked me to kind of go through it, and, you know, like, you're the lit guy, you want to go through here and see if there's anything I missed, and I looked, I'm like, oh, cool, so I kind of helped with the writing bit, but it was still Mike's baby. And then he recorded it, he's also in it, and he said, do you want to be Burnaby? I'm like, yes, because I love Frederick Burnaby, like the real historical figure. He's like an explorer, like a really interesting guy, who like did some things. And so I'm like, yes, and I got to do this really cool voice that I've never done before, and I won't do it for you now because I want you to watch it and figure out which one I am. Because my own partner was like, that's you? I'm like, yes. We went to go see it, actually screened it at the local movie theater in Dallas, where I live. And it's not often that you get to see your work on the big screen, because most of the time it's on for the little screen or for home viewing. And we went, it was a nice full audience, right? And which is kind of weird because you're watching it in the front row going, I hope they love it, hope they love it, hope they love it, because that's me talking right now. No one's cringing, okay. And there's a point in the movie toward the end where, I don't want, no spoilers, but there's a point in which my character shows up, and it's such a like, oh man, no way moment, and everyone in the theater lost their mind and applauded. Like seriously, like applauded because my character was like, hello, and they were like, yeah! And I was like, that was a great experience because it doesn't happen very often that you get to kind of watch your own stuff with a large live audience. it kind of felt like being on stage again, which I haven't done in quite a few years. So yeah, there's a bunch of little things like that, you know, that come back around maybe years after you've done them, and you go, oh yeah, I remember that. Oh, that was so much fun. I love that character. Every character you play when you're an actor, at least this is my experience, and most actors that I know have a similar sense of what happens to you when you go crazy as an actor. Is every character you play, even if it's Soldier A or Bob, you know, becomes a part of you. Like that's, you know their story. Like even if you're in the booth for 30 minutes doing 3 or 4 lines or whatever for this character, like that's, you know, you're an actor. You're for a brief moment possessed by this personality, not your own, but at the same time it's, you know, whatever. And walk away going, yeah, that was a different, and they become like a permanent feature of your psyche after that. And so, you know, maybe Bob comes out every now and again in weird ways, like, oh, hey, Bob, didn't expect to see you there. Weird. And other people, if you're wondering who the hell you're talking to. So all my characters are like family, and they're all in my head. Incidentally, it's why I can never answer the question, like, who's your favorite character? I'm like, oh, don't make me answer that, because then I'll have, like, I have to pick one, and there's like 230 characters in my head going, oh, way to go, Tatum. Awkward, I'd like you to pick me. So, yeah, thank you. Good question. Who had another question? I'm thinking about this. Because most voice directors tend to be pretty on point. Like they're pretty good. I've worked with the same directors for years, and they know me, and they're like, do that thing. Cool. And we speak in this kind of professional shorthand, and you know someone, you're like, yeah, you're doing that thing again, stop it. I've had a number of experiences in the booth with new directors. I do a lot of commercial voiceover now too, which Dallas is kind of a hotbed of, and you know, you don't get credited in voiceover work, but you might hear me on this or that commercial every now and again. I'm like, oh my God, Sebastian! I'm like, thank you. But it's different, it's very different, very anonymous. You know, like no one comes up to me and like, oh my God, I loved you in that like that Pizza Hut commercial. Like, no way, it doesn't happen, you know. It's just, it pays the bills, right? And it's quite fun to do because sometimes the copy is really fun and you're with some fun people. Sometimes you're not with very fun people. Sometimes you're with very weirdly self-conscious people who are intimidated by the entire process. And you go in as an actor, and because you're kind of tuned to be an actor, you tend to take on the vibe of the room you walk into. You know that feeling where you're like, I'm gonna have a great time, and I walk in the room, oh no, I'm not, okay, never mind. This is gonna be one of those sessions, okay. And I've had sessions where, and I don't want to speak ill of this person because I don't even know them that well, and I just worked with them a couple of times, and over time that I worked with them, they got better. But the first time I felt like this person was like, it was for a commercial, not anime, so it wasn't even people that, you know, I consider family. It was, you know, long, it was, you run into people all the time and you never meet them again after that one spot. And this is, you know, I go in and she was really cool, it was really nice to meet her, but she was just kind of like, you know, God love her, she wasn't a voice actor, she was a writer-director, and she just had this kind of flat tone, everything sort of came out like this, she just had no emotion in her voice. Some people are like that, they're very monotone, it's fine, we can't all be colorful in our speech the way I am, because I'm all over the map. And she was trying to line read me, which line reading is always tricky. Like, some actors are weird about line reads, they feel like, it is my job to give you the line reads, shut up and let me act my way through it, which is very pompous. I'm like, give me a line read, how do you want me to say it? I don't know, it's the, you know, path of least resistance. But it was this very short, like 15-second spot, right? And we had like all this copy, and it was kind of overwritten. So they're like, can you do that again and like maybe shave off 5 seconds? And because I'm like used to dubbing, I'm like, oh yeah, I got this. And they're like, wow. They're always so impressed when you can do things faster or slower. I'm like, yeah, no problem. We'll just do this, blah blah blah. We'll micro machine this. And she kept trying to give me line reads. It was like, let's say the line was this Sunday, or starting this Sunday, come on in. Let's say that wasn't the line incidentally, but it was like, she wanted like, okay, can you give us one that's like kind of announcery and sort of, you know, just really big and fun. So I'm like, come in this Sunday. Silence. Okay, could you give us one? I'm gonna give you a line read. Can you give us one that's like, come in this Sunday? And I kind of look over at the engineer who's like, oh, that's just, good luck. And so I'm like, coming at you Sunday! And I look back at her and she goes, no, see what you did there was more of like, coming at you Sunday. Could you do one that was more like, coming at you Sunday? And I'm all, Sure, let's come at you Sunday! Could you make this Sunday longer? Yeah, it was one of those things, like everybody was like, oh, God, 40 takes for one line, really? And they finally just went out with the engineers, like, we got it, we have so many takes, we can just splice them together, make the perfect one, it's wonderful. And she was like, thanks for grace. Actually, it was really a lot of fun, but it was just that weird monotone. When a director that's not a voice actor tries to give you a line reading, you're like, I don't think that's how you really want it to sound. I mean, I can do that. There's a really funny, like somebody trying to give Will Shatner, there's like an audio of Will Shatner, like just struggling with this director. And Will Shatner apparently is being kind of a, jerk about it, because, I mean, Will Shatner, why not, I guess. And I've never met the man, I shouldn't say that, because maybe I will, but well, you're talking shit about me on your panels. But there's this audio of him where like the director's like, can you do it like, you're saying like this, and he gives this horrible line read because he's not an actor, and Shatner just goes, yeah, I'll do exactly like you just did it. And he does, and it's hysterically funny, because it's so terrible. But anyway, yeah, stuff like that happens all the time. One time as a director, I would, especially when I was first starting out as a director, I would try to give these really weird, like, what I considered, but were not at all, thoughtful directions to make the actor go, oh, yes, I totally understand. And so I'd be like, okay, Kate Williams, come back in and read it more like a rose gardener. And Kate Williams would be like, what the hell is that? How does a rose gardener sound? I thought the chief feature of a rose gardener was that he was planting roses, and I wasn't aware that did things to your voice. I'm like, oh, fair point. Okay, well, maybe read it like a person, just a person. Yes, Ken, stop yelling at me. I'm trying to be all poetic, It's like, could you give me one more blue? And have the actor go, how does blue sound? I don't have synesthesia. I don't know what you're talking about. And we mess with each other like that all the time, so. Thank you. I don't know who asked that, but you, thank you. You. You got your phone on. No, weird, ew. No, I say weird, ew, no. I mean, that's cool. If they're together, that's awesome. But I don't know, they're teenagers. I feel weird about confessing my love to a teenager. Don't do that to me. What? Yeah, sure. Are you 18? Liar. Nah, I don't do love confessions. Do you have a backup question in case I said no? Smart. You come prepared. What can I say no to now? He looks absolutely just like Seal's father. I mean, it makes sense because he's a demon, and we don't really know what he looks like when he's not Sebastian. Well, and I argue that's not even part of his true form, that's just what Ash is seeing, because I think Sebastian's true form is whatever terrifies the person he's appearing for most, kind of like Pennywise the Clown. Ooh. So I think, Ash considers like, a dude in heels gross, because Ash just needs to loosen the hell up. But I think that, so Sebastian looks exactly like his dad, because Ciel needs a father figure, like his father has been taken from him, and I'm like, oh, right? And so Sebastian knows, Sebastian is a demon, and he wants to eat Ciel's soul. And so you have to think of his whole personality, from the way he looks to how he talks, everything about him, that's not him, that's his camouflage that he wears so he can eat. And so the personality he adopts is one that he's kind of picked from Ciel's subconscious and born, because that way he can then, have this relationship with him. Like, he has this mentor-student kind of father-son relationship. I don't get the shipping. Let's not talk about the shipping, because that's weird. But it's not. It's weird, and if it's weird, I'm glad that it's not, because that would be really weird. Because I don't want to date my dad. Do you want to? You might want to date your dad, but I don't want to date my dad. That's a different thing altogether. I love my dad very much. I don't love my dad. Don't ship that. I ship Sebastian and Grell because I just like redheads. Everyone's like, oh, cute. So funny. Speaking of redheads. Sure. Especially by the end of the first season, I think he grows to have a great deal of respect for his quarry. Yeah, respect, and it's kind of this issue of like, he's sort of, he wants the soul he eats to be very tasty. I mean, in a lot of ways, if I can get kind of weirdly like highfalutin academic and philosophical about it, like when you get past kind of the outward trappings of the show, which are wonderful, the show is really about, it's the story of a kind of broken soul, a young boy who is forced to grow up way too quickly because he's experienced this tragedy that no longer allows him to be a child, and so, what? Okay, get your own panel. So the story is really about this young child who's forced to grow up too quickly, and Sebastian kind of represents the very complex and sometimes very dodgy moral awareness that a person needs to navigate adulthood, because that's the thing. When you grow up, you cross this very weird, sometimes very visceral threshold into like, wow, the world is not as black and white as I thought it was. In fact, it's a lot murkier and weirder and uncomfortable, and I was not prepared for this. Which is by everyone feels that at some point in their lives. In fact, you feel it most of the time. After a certain point, you're like, this is just when you think you've got it figured out. Nope, no clue. So Sebastian kind of represents this sort of fantasy. He's almost like Merlin and King Arthur. It's almost like this. He's kind of helping him navigate this thorny moral territory that is life when you're forced to grow up too quickly. And so it's a really interesting meditation on that kind of relationship. And so just like Merlin grows from seeing his project, come to fruition, Sebastian couldn't help but grow as he sees Ciel sort of grow and flower into this complex creature. You're like, yeah, go on. Oh, all the time, yes. So as an actor, Sebastian was unusual for me in that I was very aware and very insistent that that Brina, who plays Ciel, needed to record first so I could hear her take on the character, because I felt like I want to see where she's going with it, because I need to be a counterpoint to that. Like, I want to hear what she's doing, I want to talk with Brina and see what she feels about this character, because I feel that Sebastian is, more than any other character I've ever played opposite another, is a projection of the main character. Like, Sebastian almost isn't really his own thing. He's not a person, or he's not I don't think beyond how we see him, and how, beyond the sort of persona he has, I don't think he has anything we could recognize as a personality, because he's a demon. He's kind of like this force of nature who knows what he thinks or wants or really looks like or is, So he needed to come from Ciel. So I watched and listened to Ciel very carefully. Did that answer your question? Did I get it right? Yes. Yes. First of all, after having done Steins Gate, I can tell you I would never time travel. I learned my lesson. But assuming I hadn't worked on Steins Gate and I had the power to go back in time, God, if I had the power to go back in time, I probably wouldn't worry about voice acting. I'd go back and kill Hitler or something useful. Yeah, right, I'd be like, let's go see about this. But I tell you, there are characters that I would love to have been able to play. I would love to have been in Blackjack. Does anyone know, the old Blackjack stuff? I love that stuff, and I love that character. I'd love to have played that. Captain Harlock. I love the old Captain Harlock stuff, right? I'm old, guys, shut up. We used to watch anime on cave walls by torchlight. I'd love to have been involved in, Star Blazers, and, Voltron. Oh my god, anything I grew up watching. I would love to have been in Trigun or Cowboy Bebop. Those are the big ones. I'm like, oh. Not that I could have, even now, if I had the power to go back, I would not be half as good as anybody in any of those shows, but I mean, it would have been nice to have the talent and be like, look, I'm just as good as this person, I can do it, but man, great. Next question. Let's see, someone had, let's see, you. The Kami-sama case? Yeah? Hopefully, I don't know. I'm an actor, they don't tell me anything. Thank you. Well, thank you. I really had a lot of fun with that show. I have not. Should I? It wasn't bad. That's a glowing review. It wasn't bad. Adopted or sold. Flip a coin. Right. That's a different subject for a different panel. My adaptive writing people. No, I haven't seen the live action version, but I'd like to. I never get a chance to watch much of anything apart from what I'm working on, so who knows, maybe they'll bring the live action version over. Maybe not, I don't know. You had a question, yes, to you. Oh yeah, I'm always excited to reprise my role. Now I don't know for a fact we're going to do it, and like I said, I'm an actor and I'm always the last to know. It has to go through at least 5 phases before it comes over here to get localized, and as an actor, I'd be very surprised if it didn't, but of course one never knows, and I don't like to tempt fate, so I will never assume, but I will always say, especially with Sebastian, I'd love to get to reprise roles, because I've been playing Sebastian now for 6-7 years, and that's rare. Back to the Oron and how they still talk about that show as though it's current, even though it's almost a decade old, and it's really cool to be able to be like, wow, it's still relevant, it still has currency. So I love getting to revisit characters like that, because as an actor, you don't get to do it very often. It's kind of I'm not really a genre guy. I don't have like a favorite genre. I like anything. As an actor, so the real reason, real talk for a moment, the reason I became an actor is because I couldn't decide what I wanted to do when I grew up. So I'm like, yeah, like my mantra is maybe again, and that's fine. So I became an actor because I was like, well, I don't know what I want to do, so maybe if I just become an actor and I can pretend to be all these things. It's worked out really well so far. But I've learned over time, like when I was young, I had my favorite things, like, oh, I love fantasy and sci-fi, I really don't want mystery thrillers, and then I love this, and then I came to, I love all of it. Why do I need to like try to parse it down and be like, no, this is me, this is what I mean, this is what I want, this is, I'm like, I love all of it. I love being pushed outside of my comfort zone. As an actor especially, I love when I'm thrown something that I would like, wow, I would not have cast me in this role, but okay, here we go. Because it's really fascinating and interesting and sometimes deeply rewarding, sometimes very humbling, to explore some facet of your personality that you've never thought about before, because we all have them. I mean, let me tell you a little secret. When I'm playing a character, it's not a character, it's just me. It's just me. That's not to disparage it, but that's what acting is. It's like somewhere inside of me is this character, and my job as an actor is to bring that out. It's not like there's a magical cloak called Sebastian that I put on and I become Sebastian. Sebastian's in here. That's different. And that just keeps me warm in that damn cold studio. But seriously, like there is no magic cloak called a character that you put on and become something you're not. Every character you play as an actor is some extension of you. It comes from in here, and you're just focusing on it the way that you wouldn't in real life. Personality is only kind of the surface of who you are. There's this whole complex, universe of people and personalities within you at any given time. And if you're able as an actor to be like, oh yeah, okay, I never thought about that, but so when you play a role that's nothing like how you see yourself, it's nothing like the story you tell yourself about who you are and what you do and why you do what you do, when you're given a character that seems to go against all of that, it's really a challenge. And I love that challenge because it's like going, I have no idea how I'm gonna relate to this character. I don't know where I'm gonna find this person inside of me because I just don't see it. And then you have a good director, a good writer, whatever, it all comes together, you suddenly realize, wow, he's in there too, holy crap. So all that's just to say that I don't like going into an experience that can be potentially life-changing with a filter of expectation. And that, like picking favorites, is why I'm so bad at picking favorites, because I don't have favorites. Whatever's in front of me, I try to be so fully committed to that I don't try to think about where it falls in my rating system. Because it's unfair to the experience. I'm like, there may be things about this experience that I'm not open to if I go into it thinking, well, it's not my favorite, but I mean, there are many times as an actor that you recall called upon to play a role in a show that you personally may not be the target audience for. But it's not my job to please myself as an audience. My job is to be true to the character for the audience it is for. And that's my job. If I can't do that, it's a failure of my own imagination, not the material. I'm not even the one telling you the story. When you're watching a show that I've written or that I've been in, we're not the storytellers, you guys are. The story, what's going on is just kind of the source, but you're telling yourself a story about what you see. And my job is to be fully committed to the role at that given moment, because here's the little secret that I learned in acting class, one of my favorite things about acting. You can make the craziest decisions with regards to how you read a line or how you make a movement on stage or something. You can make the weirdest decisions that seem so weirdly unreal. Like if you were to describe certain things to you, you're like, why would you do that? And you suddenly realize, well, no, like if the audience senses that you're alive and perfectly in the moment and not just trying to think, how will they respond? How should I sound? If you don't think about that and you're just alive in the character you're playing, the audience can't help but justify whatever you do. There's a great story my acting coach said that he had this guy on stage who was just like, every night he'd throw on some weird direction before the show started. Like tonight at some point I want you to do like 20 push-ups in the middle of a monologue. And the guy's like, what? He's like, just do it. He's like, well, I don't know, just at some point, pick a moment. And so he did, and every night he would do something like that, and the audience would be like, man, when you got down and did those push-ups, that was so real, that was so that character. And the guy was like, yeah, I guess it kind of was, The same teacher's name is Stephen Anderson, I'll talk about him for a bit. He was doing a one-man show. He was playing a famous rock climber, a guy who really lived. And his widow, the guy's widow, was in the audience watching this one-man show. One-man shows are really hard to do because it's basically a sustained hour and a half, 2 hours, sometimes longer monologue, and you're just having this relationship with the audience. Like there's no one else to rely on but you, and you have to be real in that moment when the audience goes to sleep. But his thing is, if you're his teaching, his primary teaching is that acting. I think Sandy Meisner, one of my favorite acting theorists, defines acting as living truthfully in imaginary circumstances, which I think is a brilliant summation of what actors do. If you're alive in this imaginary circumstance and it's real for you, it can't help but be real for the audience, even if initially they resist you. So he would be on stage playing this real guy, and the guy's real life widow is in the audience watching him, and at some point, he just decided, he just kind of got swept up in the moment. And in the middle of his monologue, he gets on the floor and starts crawling across the floor as though he's scaling a mountain. And it's so weird looking, but everyone is utterly riveted. And afterwards, he met everyone for, in the stage door, and the widow came up to him, oh my God, that was my Roger. That's so my Roger. Well, obviously, the real Roger never did anything remotely like get on stage and do that. But he was so alive in that moment that he was a really weird and abstract thing took a life of its own, and the audience couldn't help but be mesmerized. That's the thing. It's why W.C. Fields, for anyone knows who that was, famously said he would never work with kids or actors, or kids or animals, because they always steal the scene, and it's true. You ever been to a play and there's like an animal on stage, right? And I don't care how riveting the dialogue is between the live actors. If there's a dog, like a sheepdog on stage or a cat, everyone's like, oh. Why is that? Because that cat is real. That cat is there. There's not an ounce of self-consciousness in that creature because they are just pure being. Well, they're fluffy, obviously, but I mean, sometimes it's more than that. You have to sit there, say the cat's, maybe the director wanted realism, so we're gonna have a cat laying on the couch in this little apartment scene, in this little Neil Simon play we're putting on that. Cat's gonna be there, and the audience isn't gonna give a damn what the actors are doing. They're riveted at that cat because the cat's real. We are unconsciously, helplessly drawn to what's real. And if that cat moves and stretches, you're dead. As an actor, you can't compete with that. You will never be as real as that cat. My partner Grant was recently in a production of Camelot. Fantastic show, and he did great in it. They had this scene where they brought the sheepdog out, and the sheepdog stole the show. The sheepdog was on for all of 5 minutes, didn't have any lines, oddly enough. It was this beautiful sheepdog that just came out. It was hanging out, and these two actors are having this important informational expositional dialogue the audience needs to be keyed into. I'm oh, you should have a dog on stage because no one's listening. No one's, they're all watching. Oh, he's scratching himself. Oh, now he's panting. Oh. As an actor, that's what you aspire to. You aspire to be so real that the audience doesn't even think of it as acting. They just accept it as the character. regardless of your choices. I even forget now what the question you asked is, but I hope I answered it. Oh, the genre, yeah, screw that. Did you have a follow-up? We'll go on. Does it make you uncomfortable? See, it's real though, isn't it? So I'm like the cat stretching. I'm like my dog when my dog farts. So real when he farts. Does anyone have a farting dog? Right? I have a little French bulldog, and they're just made of snorts and farts and wrinkles, and they're beautiful. But my dog used to be really self-conscious about his farts until he realized you're living with two guys. We think it's hysterical. So now he's like, he does this, and you're like, what? Why are you Raquel Welching that fart? What is going on there? You're like flash dancing that fart. What is wrong with you? You're like a teenager now. You're like, yeah! Never do a scene with my dog. Ever do a scene with my dog. I tried to do a little web series where we're doing. I can't discuss it because it's not out yet. But suffice to say, I did do a scene with my dog, and we had to cut it out because my dog completely upstaged everybody. Because he's so real. All right, who has another question? I totally rambled. Yes, you. Cool. That's awesome. Round of applause for the. That's badass. I love you. By the way, pink is so your color. Can I just say that for a moment? Thank you. Teachable moments? I think everything is potentially a teachable moment. I mean, it depends. I mean, that's what drama is. Like whether, when I say drama, I mean anything that's a story that's being told. Whether it's what we think of as dramatic or comedic or something in between. Drama is always a moment because drama. And again, by drama, I mean any form of storytelling where the characters go through a series of changes. It's about change. Like it's about watching a character go through this sort of period where they think they know who they are, and they go on a journey that takes them away from who they think they are, and they have to find their way back home, where they find themselves in a completely new personality. And that's the common denominator of every good show, every good book, every good movie you've ever seen in your life. The character is real because they're not the same person. They don't end the same person as they began. Anyone here seen Breaking Bad is a great, very obvious example of that. Breaking Bad is an amazing show. You talk about a 180. Like the guy starts as this kind of dorky, nebbish kind of teacher, right? And he, by the end of season 5, he is the worst human being imaginable, and we're actually transfixed by his journey, right? Well, he makes this beautiful monologue about chemistry being about to change. He's watching this element change under pressure of fire or water or whatever, and it changes its state. And which is a beautiful sort of moment of the nature of change, and it's always kind of this metaphor for his own personal growth or de-evolution, as the case may be. But I think teachable moments, I think the point of a teachable moment, whatever form it takes, is to try to help a person, particularly a young person, navigate the vicissitudes of change. Remember that threshold I talked about earlier where you go, I know what's going on. No, I don't. It's a very, you will cross that threshold at different places many times in your life where you think you know who you are and what to expect out of life, and suddenly it all comes crashing down. You go, okay, never mind, all right, we're starting again. And teaching people how to negotiate those moments. Because you can go into those moments prepared to change, or you can go into those moments not expecting anything, and it can be utterly devastating. So I think anything, like getting back to the Black Butler example, watching this and being talk about why would CL be willing to forfeit his soul for this butler, for the sake of his family? What does that say about him? And talk about that, because that's an often overlooked element of the story, because people think, oh, it's cool, he's a demon. They love Sebastian, they forget that he's a demon that wants to eat their soul. And it makes him a compelling character, but at the same time, it's what do you as a person, what's the real cost of that exchange? And what in your own life would make that worthwhile to talk about that? It's a great philosophical question. You could look at something like Oron, getting back to that, and looking at the way these characters relate to each other. How is it that these wonderful characters who are so different from each other, and we can't imagine them, any of them, getting along, let alone being close friends in any other context, but this particular place and time at Oron, in this little host club, what is it about the circumstance they all find themselves that brings them together? these disparate personalities. You know, that's a teachable moment, you know. So am I helping you out here? Thank you. I come from a long line of teachers, so I feel like I speak your language. Thank you. I love teachers, by the way. We need more. Oh, Assassination Classroom is all about teachable moments. That's sorry, I just had this thing where I was like, oh my God, it's that. Has anyone here seen Assassination Classroom? Okay, so the whole premise of the show is like this weird creature who's played by Sonny Strait, who is absolutely born to play Koro Sensei, is this teacher who kind of looks like an octopus smiley face. That's like superhuman, can go at Mach 20 speed, and he's weird, and he's funny, and he's just crazy, and he's brilliant, and he makes this deal with his class, like he's like, I'm gonna blow up the Earth unless one of you kids in this class can manage to assassinate me before the end of the year. And it's all a metaphor for teaching these kids, because it's kind of a remedial class where the kids feel they've been sort of left behind, and that the school is kind of one of those uppity public schools that's like, no, we only cater for the best. Oh, you're not the best, you make B's? Off you go to Class C, where you're just kind of forgotten about in this crappy shack of an outbuilding. And their Koro Sensei takes these kids who feel like they have no future, or feel like they have no prospects in life, and are kind of been thrown away by society. And he uses the whole process of finding ways to assassinate this unassassinable character. The name Koro Sensei comes from a play on the word Japanese unkillable, which is Koro-senai. So he goes, what's his name? We should call him Koro-senai. Koro-sensei. And he's like, well, that's a great name. So they spend the entire class trying to figure out ways to kill him, because he's so hard to kill. And it's all to teach them about self-confidence. And I get to this point in life where they can actually work together as a team and figure out how to kill him. I know it sounds really, really dark, but it's actually very lighthearted and very well done. And he's constantly teaching them about, like, well, let's discuss why this assassination attempt on my life today didn't work. And they go, wow, and they grow as people. Like, by the end of the show, for those of you that have seen it, by the end of the show, they're adults. Like, they've grown up so much in that year, and they've learned to have faith in themselves and each other, and it's such a real journey. There's not a false note struck in the entire show. So that as a teacher, please watch Assassination Classroom, and that's, oh God, yes, why did I never think of that? Turning teachers on to Assassination Classroom, because Koro Sensei to me is like the ideal teacher. If I was a teacher, that would be my approach. Everyone kill me? No. I might need to tweak that a little bit. Yes, you've had your hand up patiently for a while now. You're like, shut up, Tatum. Don't kill Google, yay!
You talk about being mesmerized, I was absolutely blown away by how well you played shoe. That actual,
Skiyama shoe. Well, so first of all, Tokyo Ghoul, the adaptations were written by Monica Rial, who also plays, what's her name, the character's name? Thank you. I just need to know all my panels. Give me my fact checker. You're my Wikipedia page right here. Because I get really bad reception. So Monica wrote the scripts, and Monica was living next door to me at the time, and she's like, you're going to be playing this character, I just want you to know, like, I'm writing him for you. And I'm like, oh, stop. And she's like, no, really, he wears some of your clothes. And he speaks French. I'm like, oh, well, I guess I am. And it was one of those rare experiences where I could just go into audition, I'm like, go home, everybody, I nailed it. Because I felt like I knew this character. I'm like, I know his role in this, and I'm going to love it, because it was a really good show. Like, it was one of those shows that I'm like, not only do I, as an actor, love this kind of character because he's so creepy and weird and makes you feel things you don't want to feel, and as an actor, I love wrapping my head around those people. But it's also a show that I would be the fan of. I'm also the target audience for this show. So I had a bit of a leg up on it, because Monica was telling me, like, no, this guy is great, like, do some research because you're probably gonna, she's like, almost like the Japanese are daring you not to dub him. Like, everything about him is like, Tatum. I'm like, surely not. Oh no, that's me. Wow. And I do have some of his outfits, I'm not kidding you. There's one of them, I'm like, I have that outfit at home, I wear it at New Year's parties. Score. So I will tell briefly, one of my favorite experiences ever recording anything was doing the two hanky scenes. Right? You're about like, what about the hanky scene? I'm like, okay, let me describe what that was like, which I can't actually do for you, maybe it might do now. But Mike McFarlane, who directed the dub, and was also in it, was like, hired me on as a sub-director to help him at nights. And he was like, can I just, because it was running on a dub schedule, it was really intense, and he's like, I'm gonna need all the help I can get. I'm like, sure, why not? So I frequently got to direct myself for some of the scenes. Mike was like, you know this guy, you can direct yourself. Because frankly, I don't want to watch you do it. I'm like, it's fine. So I had this guy, and I just told him this. I was in a session with Dominique the other day, and I'm like, you have no idea how much mileage you get out of your story, Dominique. And he's like, what? Dominique was a brand new engineer for Funimation when he came on board for Tokyo Ghoul. And he's not even really an anime guy. I mean, he never really watched a lot of it. He's a great engineer, but he's like, oh, I've seen a couple anime. I've seen, Pokemon and Naruto and stuff like that, but I'm not really aware of it. He's an older guy, not older, but he's like, he's not the age of most of you. It's closer to my age. And he was like, yeah, no, cool. So we're doing this, and he's like, man, this character's creepy. I'm like, right? And then we get to the hanky scene. And he's watching, and we preview the Japanese, which of course by now I've seen 1,000 times because I've been at home, like watching, researching, writing notes, like, this is what I'm gonna do. Oh. And now we're watching it at Dominique, I call him Dom. He was like watching this, and he's going, good luck with that, man. Good luck. I'm like, oh, no, we're doing this. And I jump in the booth, and I'm like, Dom? Yes? Don't watch me. Just look at the screen or look away or something, but do not look, because there's a glass wall. Like, I'm up here, there's this material in front of me, the script and the screen, and then Mike and Dominique is like out here, sitting where you are. There's a big glass wall. And if he looks up, all he has to do is look up and he'll see everything I do. And I'm like, I'm gonna do something really weird here, so just don't look at me, because I'll feel really self-conscious, and so will you, so let's just turn the lights off, whatever. And I did the whole scene in my first couple of takes. I did it, and I looked back, and that son of a bitch was like, what the hell is wrong with you? And I'm like, oh, I told you not to watch me! Damn it, now I have to do it again. And he was like, oh my God, what is this show? Oh my God, can I not put my name on this? And I'm like, oh, you're putting your name on this, Dom. And he had this joke, and so then we got through it, and he was like, oh my God, well thank God that's over with. And then we had to do the next hanky scene. I'm like, oh, here's another hanky scene. He's like, oh, hell no. We gotta do this again. I'm like, it's even better. So whenever you watch the hanky scene, do what I do, and imagine Dominique, a radio engineer, going, oh, Tatum, put your shirt on. Sorry, I just ruined Tokyo Ghoul for a lot of you. I apologize. I never took my clothes off, I promise. I'm a very physical actor though, so I tend to twist and contort in weird ways that aren't natural. They're in fact very, you saw me a while ago, but with animation classroom. That's just how animation classroom comes out of me. I can't control it. There's nothing natural about it. It just happens. It's like going up a flight of stairs. People are watching and you think there's one more step and you go, and so you just start going like this for a little while, so people think it's something you do all the time. And everyone knows. You're like, we know what's going on. You're like, no, it's fine. I'm good. I do this all the time. This is syphilis. Anyway, that got dark. Okay, so. How much time have I got left? Am I doing good on time? I got 4 minutes. Okay, lightning round. Who's got some quick questions? You got Master. Go. I'm not going to tell you what that looked like from back here. I think Sonic the Hedgehog, which I didn't play. Is that did I lose? What do you think of when you see that? It's a cute little hedgehog all rolled up. Thank you. I'm not very imaginative. Look, Sonic the Hedgehog. You're like, wow, Tatum, you're the 8th person today. Yes, you. Sir Hammerlock in Borderlands 2. One of my favorites. You. Oh, all the time, and I'll never understand why people that don't like getting typecast. Like as an actor, I'm like, God, you're giving me work and it's easy? God, this sucks. Like I love getting typecast. I'm like, oh, I know this guy. It's also a challenge because you're like, I'm being typecast, but I'm gonna do something a little different with this. I'm gonna go against expectations. So sometimes you can play with that a little bit. So as an actor, I love work. If it's typecasting, it's typecasting. Everyone has a collection of types that you can play. It's called your wheelhouse. And I have several, and there's always like, I love it. I'll always be working as an anime dub voice actor because there's always a character that uses big words and has glasses, and it's neurotic. I feel like I got that down. My puppy's name is Genji. Yeah, it's not from an anime, it's from an old Japanese book that I love. Yeah, the tail again. Tail. Is he the puppy? Or is it a grown dog? Yes, you drop it. You didn't have very high expectations. That's the trick. You see, if you come at me with no expectations, I'm okay. When you come at me thinking, oh, he's gonna be fabulous, like, yes. You know, I've never cosplayed a character. I don't. You may notice most of my characters are kind of trim and sexy, and I'm not. So it's all about what? None of them, if I can help it. So I have people do this. I don't look at myself. No. So true story. This is what I think about cosplay. Like, what do? I don't want to cosplay a character I've played because that would seem to be supremely narcissistic, right? Like, I don't want to go to a con as Sebastian because then all the other Sebastian cosplay, well, thanks, Tatum, for taking the wind out of my sail and not only going to pay attention to me, right? But if I play as someone else that's not my character, chances are I know the actor that played them and they're going to be like, why are you dressing up like me? This feels like a stalker situation. What's going on? So I'm kind of damned whatever I do, so I'm like, I'm just going to cosplay a weird guy. Because I do it all the time. You're like, oh, like it's cute, like I'm a duck and you're feeding me crumbs. Oh, it's sweet, he's human, he's self-conscious. Oh, okay, one more question, I gotta wrap it up. Someone I haven't asked before, you. Have I thought about it? Yeah, I feel like I have that. I do love Doctor. If I ever cosplay as a Doctor, that would be the second Doctor. I love Patrick Troughton. I need like a really tall, gangly version of Patrick Troughton. Okay, I'm gonna end with you, because you look, clearly you gotta go to the bathroom. You're like, awesome, I'll put you in touch with my agent, but I have no idea what you're talking about. No, I do know, but thank you. Thank you, I appreciate that. Guys, I'm gonna wrap it up. Thank you so much for coming. I do have an autograph signing at 6 o'clock, so come to that if you want me to sign stuff. I do have to get out of here so they can do the next thing. Also, I have a 7 o'clock thing called How Dubbing Has Changed, whatever that means. And my 18 up for those of you that are old enough to come tonight at 11:30. Thank you, I love you, goodbye.
All right, that's it.